Hi friends, in today's video we are gonna share our experience going through 3 miscarriages at age 40. This is our story.
We don't have a history of miscarriages in our family.
Yes, I never really knew of anyone going through a miscarriage personally. I heard of that situation happening, but not with like a close friend or anyone that really was really close to me particularly. So I never had that in my mind, like I was ever gonna experience something like that. We have a successful pregnancy. Our daughter is 11 now, and when we first decided to try again and have another baby, she was 9 at the time, and we didn't think any of it. We just decided to try to conceive, and we went for it. And this was back in 2022. I was about, I think was 39 years old at that time, and we decided to try to conceive again, have another baby. And it was fairly quickly. We didn't have any issues getting pregnant. I think it took us about, how long you think? About 3 months?
Yeah, 3 months.
It was about 3 months. And I remember starting like in February, and then by April-ish, I believe, May, I was already pregnant. So we were very, very happy.
We were so excited that we even planned to renew our vows that year.
Yes, and it was something very emotional for us because we got married originally in 2006, but we had been together 2 years prior, like through our dating process. So it had been almost 20 years, right?
Yeah.
That we had been together. So we wanted to renew our vows. But we decided to go see my primary doctor, my OBG doctor, and my OBG doctor that I see all the time was out of town. I wasn't aware of that. So I saw another OBG doctor that was taking care of his patients while he was gone. And that OBG doctor, I explained her, how I never had any issues with my pregnancies before, and she saw it on my history because I have been going to this clinic for many years, like more than 10 years. So they have a very specific chart of my history. So they said that there was no red flags at all. So I consulted with her. I said, hey, we were planning on taking a trip. Do you think that's okay? She knew I was 39, and at this point, I know that is still considered a high risk pregnancy because I am a little older at that time. And back then I didn't really know much about it. Like I mentioned, we didn't really educate ourselves as much in regards to age. I mean, I felt very healthy. I work out constantly, almost 4 to 5 times a week. I kept my weight on check. I try to eat as healthy as I could. Nothing is perfect, of course, but I maintain a very healthy lifestyle and balanced diet. So I felt great. So I never thought that I would go through anything like this. So my doctor, the one that was seeing me in place of my regular OBG provider, said, I don't see any concerns with you. I think you should be able to take the trip with your family and it should all be great. Just take it easy. Obviously wherever you're gonna go, don't walk too much. Don't overdo it don't overdo yourself. That is all. So we went on our trip. We ended up going to Hawaii, right? And I was having a bit of discomfort while I was flying to Hawaii because we live in the Midwest, so it was a long trip. I don't remember how many hours. How many hours do you think it was?
12 hours?
Probably maybe around 12 hours with a layover. Yeah. I think we had a layover. I forgot where our layover was. I think we had 1 or 2 layovers. Yeah. So altogether, it might have been about 12 hours since we live in the Midwest. But I know I started feeling very uncomfortable. I was feeling a little bit of achy pains, like on my lower back, but nothing that would alarm me. I was like, well, you know what? The pregnancy is advancing. I was about 9 weeks pregnant, I want to say, about that time. So we went on our trip, like I mentioned, and we did our vow renewal and came back home, and I scheduled an appointment to see my my primary OBGYN because he was back from vacation, and we were so excited. We took our daughter. She was very excited because she has been asking for a sibling for a while, and
we had heard the baby's heart before we left on vacation, and my daughter, we wanted our daughter to hear it for the first time because
she was at school.
She was at school when we were going through the appointments and all that. But
yeah, so
when we came back,
yeah, so they checked, and I think I was about 10 weeks pregnant. My OBG doctor was very excited because he had received the communication from the other OBG provider that the baby was strong, that was growing great, that there was no concerns. I was doing great because, like I mentioned, I was trying to take care of myself and prior to getting pregnant, and obviously once I got pregnant, I started taking care of myself more. And he was very excited to give me great news of how the baby was evolving, how it was growing. But unfortunately, he was very confused when he was doing the ultrasound, and he was just very confused, and I could see it on his face. And he didn't know how to tell us what was going on because more than our OBG provider, we kind of established like a friendship with him because I have been seeing him for so long. He delivered Bella, our first baby. So he just didn't know how to say that there was no heartbeat on the baby, that he couldn't find the heartbeat. So it was very, very traumatizing for us to hear that because obviously we weren't expecting that, and it was much harder because our daughter was there and she didn't understand what was going on. So the first thing she did was just cry, and she had a meltdown. Like, it was really hard for her. And she just didn't understand, like, why, mommy? Why is there no heartbeat there? So it was very hard for us to explain that to her. My OBG provider's doctor took her out of the room, and they tried to give her like a little cupcake to calm her down. She was 9 at the time, so that we could have a little bit of time, you and I, to...
It is just really painful and really confusing at the time. It's hard to accept something when you just don't understand it. And for us, it was hard because we thought everything was fine. We thought everything was okay. And what hurt me most was that my daughter was there, that Isabella was there, and she just started crying like a lot, and she was really excited because she wanted a sibling, and she was asking for a sibling for many years, and that's why we went ahead and tried to have another baby. But it is really hard. It's hard to explain and how painful it is.
And even now that it's 2025, and it's been almost 3 years since that first one, it still hurts to open up about this, and it still hurts to remember. But
especially when you don't have family
that is supportive.
It was just me, Ruby, and Bella.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
It's difficult.
And then, you know, the question comes to your mind, why? Why us, right? Why did it happen to us? We were doing everything right. We were trying our best. I was trying my best to take care of myself, to eat healthier, even if I could, you know, eat healthier, take all my supplements, prenatals, folic acid, everything. I would exercise, you know. I was trying to go by the book, trying to do everything well, and I had no history, like I mentioned, and I was very healthy. You know, I am still very healthy, and I just didn't understand why was it happening to us, you know, why? And I just didn't know how to go ahead and explain that to our daughter. But the hardest part was what came after that, which was doctor said I could go home and let my body release the baby on its own, or go through an NDC or go through a DNC procedure, which is where they pretty much go in the area and suction it out, the remains of the baby, and they kind of, scrape the area, the uterus, and clean it out, because obviously that can remain there. And it was just very, very hard to determine what is it that we were going to choose. I didn't want to have it at home because I was very scared of how traumatizing it would be. Also, if it will happen while our daughter was around, all the blood and everything, and I just didn't know. So we opted to do a DNC procedure, and it was the worst experience I have lived in my life. The first time was the worst because you just don't know what to expect. You just don't know why you're doing this, and it was just very hard.
Sometimes you're out there asking, why? Why us? Why this, painful moment for us? And it's just so hard to recover. And now that we have experienced that painful moment, it's just hard thinking how many people are going through this situation.
Yes, it is.
For me, it was also hard too because, every woman expects a baby, and just like Ruby, she wanted this baby, and she had to go through a procedure as well. And I was really scared because it was just the first time going through this, and like I mentioned to you, we didn't have any family, so it was just us three, with nobody to talk to. We just said, you know what, we're gonna pray and we're gonna move forward.
Yes, and honestly, I feel like the only thing that has gave us courage and hope to maintain our family and continue to move forward from that heartache. We don't know, but we are not here to judge. We are just here to still keep our faith and remember that God is good. God is good at all times, and He's merciful, and only He knows why things happen when they do, right? So that is the reason why we are still here standing, and we decided to continue pursuing the dream of becoming parents again. So our journey continues to October of 2023. So a little bit over a year, we decided to try again and get pregnant again. Again, I got pregnant fairly quickly, no problems. So it seems like I don't have an issue getting pregnant. It's just figuring out the problem of retaining the pregnancy. So we got pregnant, and everything wasn't going as great as the first time when we tried with our first miscarriage in 2022. And this one I went, and fairly quickly they started telling me that they needed to keep an eye close on me because my HCG levels were not getting to the point where they were supposed to. I can't remember exactly the HCG level that you're supposed to have, but mines were increasing at a slower rate. So they were not increasing how they were supposed to increase when you hit like 4 weeks and then 5 weeks, 6 weeks, or why not. So that was one of the big problems. But we went for an ultrasound, and we did get the opportunity to hear the heartbeat of the baby this time as well. But it
was low. It was like really low heartbeat. And the second time, they told us that the heartbeat didn't seem normal. So that's when we started getting even more confused and more concerned. We were like, what is going on? We have never experienced anything like this. So now we were confused. We didn't know what to do. And I even asked the doctor, what do you mean the heartbeat is slow? And she's like, well, I was like, is that normal? Is that something that, it might increase during the days that go by? And she said, it might decrease more. And that's when they prescribed me progesterone, and you're supposed to insert that vaginally at bedtime.
That progesterone pretty much supposed to help with supporting the HCG levels, I believe is the estrogen in the body, so that it can support the baby. So I started doing that constantly, obviously, as I was told by my doctor, my OBG, because I was just very, 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 I don't want to say that we're scared, but you know, we were. And the first one, the heartbeat was so strong, and this one, the heartbeat is just not looking good, and it's just like I don't know what's going on. But it was very tough. It was very tough to hear that, and they wanted to do more blood work on me every 2 days, every other day, I forget. Every other day, every 2 days, they wanted to check my blood and check the HCG levels, and sometimes they used to tell me they're never clear too. It was just so confusing. I would get like a response from the ultrasound technician, and then I'll get another response from my OBG doctor. And this is another OBG doctor that I switched to, not my original one from when I had the first miscarriage, or the one that delivered my daughter, because we had to relocate, and my old OBGYN provider was quite far for me to drive to see him all the time. So it was a long drive for me. So that's why I had to find a new OBG provider. So that made it even more scarier for me, because I didn't have my regular OBG, and my new OBG was new, and I just was very confused of what was happening, and I was never told about HCG levels before. So it was very, very, very frustrating to understand.
It is frustrating because for many people, it might seem that having a baby is just easy, but you get educated once you start going through miscarriages. For example, like the first miscarriage that we had, and then the second one that it was about.
This happened about seven. I'm looking at my notes, friends.
Yeah, but HCG.
Yeah, the HCG levels.
Yeah, the second one that HCG levels were not, increasing. So I asked the doctor if we could do anything else, and they told Ruby that all she had to go do is go and rest, and don't worry about this. But at the same time, how would someone not worry about this? So
yeah, that there was anything they could do.
Unfortunately, we went back to the second ultrasound, and that's when we found out that the baby wasn't not, the heart was not,
the heartbeat wasn't there anymore.
So,
and they told us that the HCG levels were dropping like rapidly. I know it was like one point it was like 1200 or something like that, and it dropped rapidly over the weekend to like 500 or something like that, and it was just very, very bad, because we decided to not tell our daughter about this one, because we didn't want to bring her hopes up. And not that we had a negative mind or anything like that, but we just didn't want her to go through anything if it wasn't necessary. So at this point, we didn't take our daughter to any doctor's appointments or anything. So it was just between him and I, and it was very difficult because she would still see us a little sad, and it was like kind of difficult to not really tell her what was going on. But
so many things that go through your mind during those moments, and it's just so hard and so painful for women. And it was so painful for Ruby, and sometimes I feel bad because I wanted a baby so bad, and then just asking Ruby to try again, for the second time. It was just hard. It was hard for me too, because we never want to put our wife to this situation, and it's really painful.
But it was not just your decision; it was also mine, obviously, and also Bella. She always wants to continue. She always continued to ask for a little sibling, So it was a decision that we made for all three of us. So you know, I didn't want to give up on that dream of being a mom again and reliving those moments when our daughter was small and looking at her pictures and videos and be like, why can't I have that again, you know? But
it was hard. It was really hard. So there we go again. We went through another situation.
yeah, we had to do a DNC again. We had to do a DNC again because obviously I didn't want to tell my Bella, our daughter, what was going on. So I didn't want her to catch me bleeding or something out of the blue and have to explain her that. So we decided to take care of that while she was in school hours. And later on, when we healed a little bit from it, we explained her because we feel like if we're a family, we don't need to be having secrets or hiding anything, but it just has to be at the right moment for her to understand. And she was so much more mature about this because this happened a year after, so she was about 10 years old now. And I was already pretty much 40, guys, when this happened too. I remember having that DNC schedule right before my birthday in October, because my birthday is October 28th. And I had that second DNC procedure for my second miscarriage. And I remember thinking, you know what, I'm already 40, I'm already older. This is hard for me. How is this ever gonna happen? So it was very tough. It was very tough because as women, we have a little clock that ticks, you know, it's ticking, and it makes it more nerve-wracking. It makes you stress out and get anxiety and all that more because you're like, the pressure, you know, of not just because you want to get pregnant and have the baby because that's the ultimate goal, right? That's why you get pregnant, but also because unfortunately you're getting older and your chances of having a successful pregnancy decreases even more with age, right? Even if I continue to have a healthy lifestyle, take care of myself, even though I feel great and I don't have any chronic or any illnesses or anything, which I thank God for, but still, it's really tough. It's really tough. So,
But after that, we let time go by, and then again, Ruby got pregnant again.
yes, so I got pregnant with my third attempt. I think it was in late April of 2024. So this past year, late April or early May, when I found out that I was pregnant. And I was like, oh my goodness, you know, we weren't really trying, right?
We were not trying, but at the same time, we were like, you know, if it just happens, it happens, right?
At this point, you're just kind of like, you don't know if you
Yeah.
should be happy or
sad or scared.
or scared. It was just
Yeah.
very, very, very different than the previous two times, even though it's kind of similar. It's very different. I was just shocked, kind of, because I didn't know. I didn't know what was coming this third time. I didn't know, but I still maintain a positive mindset, and I still maintain telling myself, you know, everything's gonna be fine this time. It's the third time. Third time is the time, you know. And without us wanting to, or without even you trying, you start making all these stories in your mind, thinking about, you know, planning the baby already and seeing it here already, and planning all the fun things that you can do with the baby and with Bella, and how happy we all would be. And just going to the doctor and always being so nerve-wracking about what is it that they're gonna tell me this time. But things seem to be going okay at first. I think I found out I was pregnant at about 4.5 weeks, I believe. I was about 4.5 weeks pregnant, and that's how I found out that's the first time I found out that I was pregnant. I had a late period, but I could feel it. You know, us as women, we have that sense of knowing when something's going on, right? Just like what's going on with your child or something, you know something's going on. So even before I missed my period, I kind of felt it, like, but I didn't want to tell Al or anything because I wasn't sure. So I wanted to be sure. So I did a home pregnancy test, and it came out positive, and I was like, okay, so I'm gonna go in and double check it, make sure it's right with the blood test. And yes, it was positive. So HCG levels were increasing normally at this time. They were hitting the goal, and doctor was ordering lab work constantly every other day. Every other day I was there, and it went to the point where I was about 7 weeks pregnant at this point, and the HCG levels were staying at a certain point. They were not increasing, nor they were decreasing. They were staying there for a few days, and the nurse was a little confused, so she said, I'm gonna go ahead and bring that up to your OBG, and I'm gonna see what she suggests to do next. So the nurse said she was gonna contact me with the next step, but I didn't get a call from the nurse. I got a call from the doctor herself, and I was like, oh boy, this is not good. And she called me, which she never does that, and she told me that she just wanted to talk to me about my recent HCG levels, that they were not increasing nor they were dropping, and it was just something that she had not experienced in the past as frequently before. So she was a little bit in a confused spot as well. And I asked her, what is this? Is this a miscarriage too? You know, I have had 2 already. They were consecutive, almost back to back. Please be clear with me. Please tell me what's going on. And she just didn't really know what to tell me. She was kind of very confused, and I had already had a miscarriage under her care, like really recently, and I had come to her care with history of 1 miscarriage already. And at this point, I was past 40. I was already almost 41. So she didn't know. She told me that it could be because I was having twins, and at this point, because it was too early, that we couldn't see both like little heartbeats, because I had gone to an ultrasound. I forgot to mention this, friends. I had gone to an ultrasound before she called me, and the ultrasound technician said that she couldn't detect the baby heartbeat, right? So I was very confused, because at the ultrasound they said that they saw a sac, but that
Empty.
there was no embryo. I think that's what they call it at this stage. There was no embryo inside the sac, so the sac was empty. And obviously I've never been told this before, nor I know anyone that has gone through this before. So when the doctor calls me and she tells me that it could be because there's gonna be 2 babies, that I'm gonna have twins, and it's just too early, and sometimes that happens when there's twins, that the heartbeat is not strong enough yet, that is the reason why also the HCG levels are not increasing, that I could be at an earlier stage in my pregnancy than the 7 weeks, and that is why things could be going that way. But she said that she was gonna give it another week, and I was gonna continue to go into the office and check my HCG levels, and that she was gonna follow up with me and let me know what her thoughts were at that time. I started honestly going crazy in my mind, like, what is going on? So what did I do? And that is the reason why I'm making this video, even though it's very hard for us. First thing I did was go to YouTube, and I started searching. And seeing if other women out there were going through the same thing that I was going through. And I tried to look for signs, the symptoms that I was having, the things that the doctor was telling me, to see if I could relate to anyone, any story that was on YouTube. And I found some stories that were saying that they were going through the same thing like we were. I was seeing that some women were going through a binded ovum pregnancy, which means that there's a yolk sac, but the HCG levels don't increase because there's no embryo. So what the definition of a bind ovum pregnancy is: a condition that occurs when a gestational sac develops without an embryo. It occurs when an embryo never develops or stops developing, often no specific cause is apparent. It is usually noticed in the first weeks of pregnancy during an ultrasound. So, and it said that there were symptoms that people could experience, like minor belly cramping, like spotting, bleeding, but I didn't experience any of that, friends. I didn't.
We were so confused.
Once I found out that there was women experiencing similar things to me here on YouTube, the videos that I was watching, I was asking myself, is this what I'm going through? But the doctor is just not telling me what's going on.
We were upset too, because when this provider knew that Ruby had already 2 miscarriages, her job was to even have us consult with a
high risk pregnancy.
But she didn't do that.
But she didn't do that. She continued to say, oh, it's because you're older, and that is the reason why my HCG levels were dropping, and the eggs are not the same, and when you continue to be older, it just gets riskier, and it just the percentage of a successful pregnancy decreases dramatically. So pretty much that is all she continued to tell me, pretty much saying that I was older. So if she knew that I was older, how come she didn't make that suggestion to begin with? You know, that I should that I should be referred to a high-risk provider as well, because it was a high-risk pregnancy to begin with. Since day one that I came to her clinic, I explained her before we established care, I had a consultation with her, and she just checked me and she looked at my history. So obviously she saw that I had a miscarriage prior to coming to her care, and I explicitly told her that I was trying to conceive again, that I wasn't giving up on that hope, that my husband and we were trying to have a second baby, so that we were gonna continue to try. So at that point, I would think that she should have gave me her professional advice and tell me, hey, you know, you are getting ready to be, you're almost 40. We can try our best, but I do suggest for you to see this additional provider, a high risk. Now, if I didn't want to see him, then that would have been on me, right? I had the right to decline her offer or accept it. But I didn't even know that that offer was there for me to take in the first place.
But I remember when we first found out that you were pregnant, you know,
with the
we told her that
attempt.
What can we do, or what other steps, since we already had a miscarriage in the past. She just said,
2023.
She just said, well, it's the same steps. You're gonna come, we do an ultrasound, we make sure, you know, that there's a heartbeat, and we just do the same step as any regular pregnancy. How is it that
different I can do?
She didn't do anything else for us, or it's just confusing. We hope to give hope to other women, especially with this video. If you have experienced a miscarriage in the past, you need to know that your other pregnancies will require
more attention. My regular OBG provider said that it doesn't matter, even if you are younger, you know, you could be younger than 35, but now they suggested more if you're 35 and above, obviously, that is already considered a high-risk pregnancy, even if you haven't had a miscarriage to begin with, even if you have had successful pregnancies in the past, just because age plays a big role, right? And unfortunately, it plays against having a successful pregnancy at times. But yeah, definitely we want to bring awareness to that if you are at least 35 or have had or have not had a miscarriage before, you still need to be seen by a high-risk provider, accompanied with your regular OBG provider, just because, you know, it's safer that way, you know, there's a better care established for you. So I didn't know that. I guess I made a big mistake switching my OBG provider, but I had to drive like over an hour to see him, and it was just very inconvenienced. But if I could, I would have gone back to him. I don't know if the outcome would have been different or not. I don't know, but I do ask that to myself a lot. And you know, sometimes we ask ourselves, was it something that I did wrong? Is it why things turn out the way they did? And for many months we struggled through that. You know, sometimes we blame ourselves, like our first miscarriage, was it because we traveled?
Yeah.
You know, our second miscarriage, was it because I did something wrong? Did I not eat enough vegetables, drink enough water? I don't know. You know, did I exercise? I don't know.
It's just confusing.
You know, it's just confusing.
Painful.
And at the end of the day, we're not here to blame ourselves. We have learned that. At the end of the day, we're here to just continue moving forward. It's not easy, but there's still hope for us there.
Yeah.
We are still pursuing that dream. Just because I had 3 miscarriages and I am currently 41, I'm still going to give it another try. That is something that we have decided. And I continue to pray. I continue to pray, and I continue to ask God to bless me with that dream coming true of becoming parents again. Yeah. And being able to give Bella a sibling.
Hopefully our experience can help us make better choices. Even when doctors tell you, no, you know, don't do this, don't do that. We're gonna do what is best and what we have learned through our experience, through all these 3 miscarriages that we had in the past.
Yes. So even though it's almost been a year from our most recent last miscarriage, we still have a very hard time, guys, talking about this. Very, very hard. Like, yeah. Not a lot of people that even know us in person know about it, because
we haven't told anyone.
Yeah, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to talk about it, because it just kind of awakes all the hardship. And it's just very hard. Even after a year, and we've been through this journey for almost, 2022, 23, 24, almost 2.5 years.
Yeah, it's been really hard. It's been, especially for people that don't have background with miscarriages, like
they
us.
Have a medical condition.
Yeah,
because every time I go to the doctor for my physicals or for my checkups in OBG or regular physical, you're healthy. No cholesterol, no thyroid, no diabetes. Your weight is on point, you know, for your height, you know, you work out, you exercise, you're trying to have a balanced diet. So I guess I'm doing everything right? But I still can't retain a baby, right? I can get pregnant. We have at least come to that conclusion, like my OBG provider says, hey, at least we have one good point, that you don't have a problem to get pregnant. So I don't need fertility treatment, you know. Grateful to God for that. But just figuring it out, how can I retain the pregnancy, is what our journey still continues on. So, but even though it's difficult to talk about this, we wanted to make this video, friends, to let the people out there that are still going through the same situation that we are, or that they have gone through it, that they're not alone. You're not alone. Hope this video gives you comfort to know that you're not alone, that it is common, and for you to not think like I used to, perhaps think that I was the only one who was going through this situation, and why me, and did I do something wrong, and try to blame myself for doing something. Don't do that. Don't blame yourself. You haven't done anything wrong. You just have to know that maybe it wasn't the time at that time. That's what I tell myself. Maybe it wasn't the right time. And this time when we try it again for the 4th time, it will be our time. It will be our time, and we will have a great pregnancy. We declare in Jesus' name that we will have a great pregnancy, and it will be a successful pregnancy, and we will have a baby that will be beautiful and strong. Amen. So we don't care if it's a boy or a girl. We don't care. As long as it's healthy and God gives me the ability to be able to deliver well, and I continue to have my health as well, to be here and be able to raise the baby. That's all I ask for. I don't care what the gender is. So,
but we do hope this video serves a purpose to couples that are going through the same thing we're going through.
Yes, and that you guys can relate to us. Let us know in the comments, friends, if you guys have gone through something similar or are going through something similar, we would love to read your messages and we can say a prayer for you as well.
Yes.
We're gonna close this video saying that we always have to remember that God is faithful and He is merciful and He knows why things sometimes happen at the time that it happens, and we just have to trust in Him that everything will be okay, everything will be well, and that He will be with us in every step of the way. So
may God bless you all, and if you're trying, don't lose hope.
Yeah, don't lose hope, friends. As long as you're healthy and you want to continue to try, don't lose hope. It's up to you. It's a decision that is very difficult to do, whether you continue or whether you accept it and stop. But for us, we're gonna try one more time, and we're gonna try to share the process with you guys when we are ready to try again. Thank you for hearing our story. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching our video. And if you are new, we hope you can subscribe to our channel. And if you are a returning subscriber, thank you for tuning in. We will see you guys on our next video. Blessings. Bye.